Hello everybody and welcome to SpindleTV. I'm starting a little bit early just to chit chat with you folks that are in the chat area and stuff. And Brooks, thanks very much for the comment about the part 1 of the build. Part 2's coming slowly but surely. It'll be out next week when I get back from Indiana. I got to make a drive up to from Florida to Indiana and then over to Alabama and then back to Florida on Thursday. Not all in one day. I'm going up there Thursday, and then on the 12th I'm coming back. And then we'll get part 2 ready for release. Yeah, I appreciate it. If any of you watched over at Build It TV, part 1 of the chest of drawer builds, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness gracious. So I see you guys are talking about the weather. I guess this time of year, that's the main topic of conversation up north. Hey Dave, how you doing, bud? Good to see you, Dave Gatton. Hope things are going well. Thanks for reaching out to me last week. I appreciate it. So, what have everybody been doing? Y'all getting ready for Christmas? You getting things geared up? Is the CNCs running and Christmas projects being made? I'm trying to deal with this build video, and I had someone come over and bring me this big glue up here and asked me if I could carve a wave in it and some stars so they could make a wavy flag. So unfortunately, their glue up had a little bit of a twist in it, so I've got my favorite shims here, some playing cards. Kind of supporting the two opposite corners. There's a little bit of a twist in there, so I'm going to mill it, take a little bit off on this top side. I'm going to surface it, then I'll flip it over. I'll remove the shims at that point and surface the other side. Take just a small amount off. I don't want to take too much meat off of it, but I'll take a small amount off to get that little bit of twist out of there, and then for the next 15 hours I'll be carving a wavy somewhat flag. No stripes or anything are getting carved in it. He wants to paint those, so yeah, man. So we're gonna knock that out starting tonight after the class. So tonight we're going to do a Q&A, and this time we're looking for some participation from you guys and girls in the chat. With the if you have a question, put a question mark in front instead of normally you put it at the end, right? You know, but put it in front so I know it's a question for me. And we'll switch over to the Vectric software. We'll do a live Q&A. Any questions you ask, I'll do my best to answer. The class tonight, this Q&A, it's not going to be very long. We're going to try to run an hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes, but we're going to try to stick around an hour or what have you. Once we get rolling, we don't normally start rolling until about 7:15, so I'm just chatting away right now. Simply because I've got so much on my plate, like all of us do, with this new thing that just popped up with this flag, and then trying to get everything sorted with the chest of drawers build so I'm ready for next week, and then I've got to start getting ready and load up my truck and everything and get ready to head up to Indiana. So we're going to, it's not going to be a 3-hour class like you're normally used to with SpindleTV. But any questions you have, hey, throw them in there. That participation, that makes it all worthwhile. And do like Dave Gatton says, smash that thumbs up button. In the meantime, I'm going to switch over to let me switch over. Let me see if I can do this here. Bear with me. We are going to do that. And that, hold on a a second. It would help if I'm on the right channel. Turn that key off. Okay, stand by, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta learn how to work my own software. I'm out here in the shop and nothing's gonna go well. There's that. And let's see if I can get me transitioning. Well, I might not be in the corner again. Hold on a second. Fill source, key source is going to be camera 4. No, fill source is camera 4. There we go. Oh, I'm a goofball. I'm not in front of my green screen. So that is why. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you just saw an idiot at its best. I don't have my green screen behind me. I'm in my actual shop. So I won't be down in the corner when we're on the Vectric screen or what have you. Jeez Louise. Let's see what old Mike Pearson. Making snack plates and a child's favorite shave. Dinosaurs, space shuttles, and horses. Nice, with laser stuff inside. That's cool. Way to go. Alright, so we got a few more minutes and we'll kind of get the ball rolling and all. But in the meantime, hey man, start racking up some questions if you got them. I'm happy to answer them. We can work in Vectric Carve Pro, which is the same as Desktop. Desktop and Pro are the same. And Vectric Aspire for your questions. When I answer your questions. So whatever we need to jump over to, we can. And we can do that. And yeah, I don't have my green screen behind me, so I can't I can't make myself morph into the corner like I'm used to doing. I was wondering what was going on and why it wasn't working. Let's see here. Hey Lainey, I'm an annual member and I was trying to schedule a one-on-one, but I had a hard time. Can you walk through that real quick? Absolutely. Stand by and let me let me see if I can pull up a simulation here and show you. Stand by, folks. Stand by. Let me see if I can oh. Come on, Lainey, you can do this faster. Do it faster, boy, do it faster. Okay. Let me switch over. All right. You have a page, a link, should I say, Kevin, that when you open up your web browser and you go to this link, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. And there's going to be a redemption code and there's going to be a schedule button. You're going to click on that schedule button, and that's going to take you to set your time zone, and then it's going to set you to a calendar, and you're going to pick a date and time. If you have not bookmarked this page, if you have not bookmarked that page, then, and you've lost your link and you've lost your email, you know, that has that link in there, because when you got that confirmation email, when you signed up for your annual subscription, you have a confirmation link in there, a schedule link, and when you click that and it opens up this page, you need to bookmark that so you can access it every time you want to schedule an appointment. If you haven't done that, then you need to let me know in the chat area, and I'll re-email you your link. And when I re-email you your link, as soon as you click that link and that page opens, the first thing you need to do before thinking about scheduling anything is bookmark that page. So that way you can go to that web browser and you can go to that bookmark every single time. But when you click on the schedule button, it's going to take you to set your time zone. You click set time zone. Then you're going to see a calendar, and you pick your date and time from a calendar, and you fill out the little questionnaire, and you hit the submit button or the complete appointment button. That's as far as I can show you on the screenshots and all, because I don't have like a mock-up account. I only have his real people's accounts and stuff. If you don't, Kevin, if you don't have your link or you don't have your email from when you originally signed up and stuff, let me know in the chat. I'll re-email it to you, and then as soon as you get the email, when you click on the link, it'll open up the web page to your scheduling page. You're going to bookmark that, and then you can go through and schedule your appointment. Okay? All right. That's how we will do that. Or that's how you do that. That's not the best answer, but that is the only answer I have right now, because I can't show people's on the full schedule page. It shows your last 4 digits of your credit card and when all your payments were made and all that stuff, and I can't show that on screen. Okay, so we'll go there. All right, I saw a YouTube video where they cut 6 pieces of wood with a 30-degree edge, glued them together, then sliced them into snowflakes. Was wondering if this is possible to make the 6 pieces on the CNC. Depending on, Dennis, depending on the pattern or design, you can use a 60-degree V-bit, which has a half angle of 30 degrees. Or you can get a 30-degree V-bit that's an included angle of 30 degrees. But you can run a a cut on this that'll cut those edges and everything, so that when you glue them up, it will create this pattern. I would have to see the design, and I'd have to see the video. If I could see the video and if I could see the project, I can tell you how to do it on the CNC. I'd have to see that. But yes, it is doable. You can do beveled edges and everything, if it's a 30-degree cut, so the parts fit together and all that stuff. You can do that with a V-bit and a profile toolpath, and there's a way to do it for sure. It's just like cutting miters with your CNC, for joints and stuff. I would have to, if you want to find that video that you saw and paste the link in the chat area, I'll click on it, and I'll take a look at it, and then I can reach out to you, or better yet, I'll just put my email address down below. You can email me, that way I can talk to you directly and show you how to do it if I see the video. So Laney.Shaughnessy at SpindleTV.com. SpindleTV.com. So my email address is down below. Okay. And yeah, I mean, it's doable. So we just have to, I just have to see the video and see what the actual project is and the shapes, and then I can tell you how to make it on a CNC. I pretty much figured out, I always, my first question is, ever since I got a CNC is, how can I make that on the CNC? So I've figured out quite a few projects. I'm sure if as soon as I see what that looks like or whatever, I could tell you how to do it on a CNC. All right, let's see here. Hello, I would appreciate it more if you share the projects. I watch your videos with interest. Thank you for that. So, Mehmet, if the videos, the training classes and stuff, if there is a project file that goes with them, then the download will be in the description of the video. But come here, or coming up, probably the second month of 2022, if there is a project file associated with a video, it will be available on BuildItTV.com for a paid download, because that supports the channel, and I need all the money I can get to keep things free and keep things going. So it might be a $2 download, it might be a $5 download, it might be a $3 download, who knows. But right now they're free, and if there's a file for it, it's in the video description. But come 2022, I got to get myself out of the poorhouse so I can keep everything free and keep SpindleTV and all that stuff going. It cost me $900 for the wood for that chest of drawers, and about died because that was my Christmas money. So I got to make it up somehow. So I've got to start selling the project files if I'm gonna, you know, I don't care if it's $1 a download or something. I need some kind of support. So 2022, BuildItTV.com, you'll find files there. All right, let's see here. Hey Mark, how you doing, buddy? Mark Lindsay and Dave Gatton, all in the same house. What's up, guys? Two YouTube celebrities right there, ladies and gentlemen. You should go check out their channels. Dave Gatton and Mark Lindsay CNC. All right, let's see here. What do we got? Brooks Martin, Laney, do you do any epoxy inlays? If so, I've run across someone saying that you can thin the epoxy with acetone. Any thoughts? Man, I wish I did do work with epoxy. I have just started dabbling with it and all. But Dave or Mark, I'm sure one of you have worked with epoxy in the past and all. Throw in the chat area, or anybody that's worked with epoxy, is acetone the thinning agent that can be used with it? I'm not familiar with what the thinning agent is for epoxy. About the only epoxying I do is 2-part epoxy to fill in knots and voids and cracks on projects that someone gives me that has defects and stuff in it. I've done boat, let's see, deep pour. It's from Boatworks. I think it's from Boatworks. But deep pour epoxy for a river table. But I've never done epoxy inlays, and I've never thinned my epoxy, so I honestly do not know the answer if acetone is the key or if it's denatured alcohol or what it is. So if anybody knows the answer to that question in the chat, please answer that question. What is the thinning agent for epoxy? So you can thin it out. Alright, Bob Frail says, making the chest set. The bottoms are being cut on a slope because of my tapered ball nose. My tool database reflects a 5.4 degree slope, but the Vectric software doesn't recognize the slope. Well, the Vectric software actually does recognize the slope. When you create the tool path, it's going to calculate or account for that side angle, that 5.4 degrees and everything. What you need to do is you need to have a separate tool path draw a line across the bottom of your parts and run a profile toolpath with an end mill that will cut that straight line to clean up those before you do your you would run that toolpath before you run your 3D chess pieces and everything, so that way it creates that flat bottom. You can either run it before or you can run it after. Running it after, you know, you're just barely hanging on tabs unless you're doing it as a two-sided project. So run half of it on one side, flip it over, half of it on the other side, you should be fine. But do a straight line across the bottom of your pieces. Run a profile toolpath with an end mill, and that'll flatten it out and clean it up. Alright, let's see here. Any hints on glazing 3D projects, or what videos are worth watching on this subject? So glazing, I use a product. Let me see if I can get up for a minute. Let me see. When I'm doing glazing, I'm back, guys. When I'm doing glazing, I use what's called a toner dye. Now, I don't know if this is, the best way and everything, but this toner dye, when it, let me see here. Bear with me a minute. Okay, are we back? I use a toner dye that it's from Touch Up Solutions and stuff, and I use it as kind of a glaze to bring out those dark highlighted areas. I wish I had my eagle here where I did that, but this toner dye, when it goes on, I can direct it in certain areas. I can rub it in or whatever I need to do. I can wipe off the excess to bring out those highlight areas and everything when I want to do that before I put in my clear coat or what have you. Again, it's called a toner dye. Now, this is the only glazing I've ever did. There is actually glaze that you can buy, but I've never worked with it or anything. I use a toner dye that really, brings in the solutions, and it is a dye. It's a dye. And then, I can, put it into my cracks and stuff to bring out that area. And the color that I use is perfect brown on my toner dyes, like in the cracks of like raised panels and things like that. But I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but that's how I glaze. Other than that, I don't know anything about any of the other glazes or something like that. I'm not a finisher. That's not my forte. If it was up to me, everything would be lacquered. But I don't stain wood. That's about the most I do as far as that. I can spray on a bead where I want and then wipe off the excess just to highlight those in the raised panels, those cracked or crevice areas and stuff like that. On an eagle, a 3D eagle I got it into the feather, the bodies of the feather and stuff like that, to bring out those highlights and stuff before I did the finish on it. But I don't stain my wood. If I want a dark wood, I use walnut or cherry. If I want a light wood, I'll use maple or something. If I'm gonna paint, I'm gonna paint. But I don't stain. I'm not a fan of stain. and I'll use a close to the wood finish. A wipe on poly builds up sometimes, but Danish oil, thank you. A wipe on Danish oil or a lacquer finish and all. I don't do brush poly. Me and Polly don't get along. Wipe on poly, we get along okay, but her big sister brush, but doesn't. But that's about all I can answer on that, bud. You know, as far as glazing goes, I'm not a finisher. I use a toner to highlight areas that I want to highlight. And again, this is kind of one of their sample bottles, but it is a toner dye from Touch Up Solutions. Yeah, it's in a rattle can. Yep, Perfect Brown is what it's called. So that would be that. Brooks. Not Brooks, Bob. Nope, not Bob. Hold on, I'll get it. Harvey. It was Harvey's question on toner dyes. That's about all I know about glazing. But there is a glaze. I mean, there's actual glaze that, you know, woodworking finish materials glaze. I think I've seen something that says glaze from General Finishes and stuff like that. But any of you others or finishers in the chat, help old Harvey out, because I'm not the one for that one. You guys have any Vectric questions? Jeez Louise. No, I'm just kidding. I'm 0 for 3 right now. 0 for 3. Except for Bob. The end mill will flatten out those tapered areas on the flat pieces of the bottom of your chest pieces. So I got that one. The other ones I'm not hitting too well. Epoxy, glaze. Let's see here. Yep, Kevin. Okay, I saw your comment, Kevin. I will email that to you again after the class. Hey, Debbie, how are you doing? Fozzie Bear, for T-bone or dog bone, the radius, should you go larger than your tool size? No. The radius of your tool size for your T-bone and dog bone fillets, if you're using a 1/4 inch end mill, your radius is an 1/8 inch end mill, or an 1/8 inch. If you're using an 1/8 inch bit, your radius is a 1/16 inch. You use the actual radius of the bit you're using for your dog bone and T-bone fillets. You use the actual radius of your tool that you're using. Don't go larger. No, because a dog bone fillet. Let's go over here and let's get out of this image. Let me see here. Let me find my mouse. There's my mouse. Alright. So, a dog bone fillet is when two parts are going to fit together and you need to make clearance in the inside corners for these two parts to fit together. A T-bone fillet is when you're carving a slot that is the same diameter as the tool. If I'm carving a 1/4 inch slot and it's a slot that, you know, parts are going to fit together, I use a T-bone fillet. If that slot is the same size as my bit, that's a T-bone fillet. So for the dog bone fillet, we are, and let me just zoom in here. Come on, where's my mouse? My mouse keeps hiding from me today. We are, if I'm using a 1/4 inch end mill, I'm going to create a 1/8 inch radius fillet, you know, for that end mill. It basically just gives a nice little way for that end mill to escape so that you have a place in clearance for corners. If it is if the slot is the same size as the bit, then you're going to be using a T-bone fillet. Where in the heck is my mouse? I got two screens in the shop and my mouse is eluding me. There it is. Hey, there you go, buddy. The T-bone fillet is going to create, if the slot is the same size of the tool, and this is assuming that my slot is 1/8 of an inch, you know, it's going to create a relief or a release for the bit to go into if the slot's the same size as the tool diameter being used. So dog bone fillet is just to clear inside corners, get rid of that radius. For 2 parts that'll fit together. Mortise and tenon would be a dog bone fillet. But if your slot is the same size as the tool you're using, it's a T-bone fillet that you would use. Okay. But it's the radius of the bit you're using. Don't go bigger. Alright, Fozzie Bear, so that takes care of that. Okay. David says, Laney, I've been doing a lot of flat pack items and did my first carving Sunday. I chose the eagle head dished out. I used raster for the rough cut and found that the Z routine had a better finish around the eagle. However, when done, I ended up with bottle capping marks on the x-axis, left and right side. Not sure what caused this. So those bottle capping marks, there's actually, it's kind of like a scallop. There's actually a 3D model. We want to make sure, first of all, that if you chose the eagle head, there are 3 options for the eagle head. The eagle head by itself, the eagle head in a dish, the eagle head in a dish with that scalloping. That's kind of that bottle capping. You want to make sure you did not choose that model because that's actually part of the model. You want the regular dish, and you want to make sure that in the material setup, so let's go over to, I wish I was on the screen so you could see my hand movement and stuff, but let's go over to the toolpath side. In the material setup, it's very important that your model position be at the top of the material for a dish, and make sure that it's at the top of the material for the dish. And if you're not going to put a zero plane in, make sure you have a vector around that dish to use as the boundary. But make sure that you're not down in the part a little bit on the position, because that'll kind of create a little scalloped edge around the top edge of the dish, and you don't want to do that. But let's switch back to me. There we go. Sorry guys, I didn't know you were staring at my screen all this time. But there are 3 different types of models. Regular head, head in a dish with the scallops around it. Make sure that's not the model you chose, or else there's no getting rid of those. Make sure that your model is all the way at the top of the material with a dish. If you do put in a zero plane, make sure you create a vector around that dish and use that as your vector boundary. You can use the model as the boundary as well, but the zero plane has to be turned off. Otherwise, it's going to carve the whole top of the board. As far as on your X and Y, and not on your, but on the left side of the X positive, and right positive, but not on your Y, you may want to look at tramming or something, see if there's any kind of tramming issue or something. Normally that scalloping would be all the way around if your model is low in your material, if the position is low in the material. David put in the chat section, are you a digital wood carver customer? If you are, you can call me anytime and we can jump on TeamViewer and take a look at that and see if we can figure it out for you. But just make sure you're not actually using the model with the bottle cap scallop all the way around it, the dish, because that is an option and stuff. But let's get over, let me minimize this, let me get out of this flag project. Lord have mercy. Okay, let's come in here and let's go back to Vectric for a minute. I'm just going to create a 12 by 12 project. 12 by 12 by 3/4. Click OK. Now, of course, let's see if any of my models are in here. I have only one model in here, of course, because I just installed version 11 of the Aspire. Let me minimize that and go to VCarve Pro. All my models should be in VCarve Pro. Create a new file. 12 by 12. Alright, what do I got for clip art in VCarve Pro on the laptop? Just the horse. Alright, so let's go back to Aspire because I can make my own dish. Alright, so we'll use the horse. A horse is a horse, of course. That's funny. I don't have any of my models loaded because I don't design on these computers out here in the shop. Alright, let's go into the drawing tools. Let's draw a circle. Shoo. That'll be our dish. We're going to go into the modeling and we're going to create a shape. It's going to be a curved profile shape. We'll go let's go 30 degrees. 0 base height, no limit. We want to subtract this and click apply. And let's split the view so we can see what's happening here. Okay. Now, if you here on the edges and everything, we would want to add in a zero plane. You know, so those edges are nice and clean. You know, but we definitely want a vector so that when we're milling the 3D rough and the 3D finish cut, let's go with 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. Let's remove that one. We're going to use the selected vector as the boundary, and we're going to do a raster cut and calculate that. And you want to make sure that vector's selected. And if you want it to go past the boundary some, that's fine. I wouldn't recommend it on a dish. But as far as getting bottle cap scallops on your x-axis positive and negative, but not on your y, that's going to be that sounds like a tramming issue to me. You'd have to run a pocketing test or something and see if you're getting stair steps along your X or your Y, and that means your bit is tilted and everything. And also the you know, make sure that bit is not tilted front, back, left, or right, because that would cause stair steps on one axis or the other, depending on what it is that's going on. And also it sounds to me, if you're only getting it on one axis on the front and back, you know, and stuff, it sounds to me like a tram thing that needs to get fixed. Okay, let's see here. So Elise does epoxy. She doesn't thin it at all. So maybe who was it that asked about thinning the epoxy? Bear with me a second. Who was it that asked about thinning the epoxy? Brooks. Maybe give a little bit more explanation in the chat area as to why you are looking to thin your epoxy, and maybe that would help some of the people out kind of answer your question. Because I've never thinned epoxy or anything like that. You know, pour it, throw a heat gun over it or a torch, whatever you want, to get rid of any little air bubbles, and let it go. Let's see here. Yeah, so even Elise asked why to thin. So Brooks, if you have an answer to that, or if you already answered it, them in the chat and everything, but Elise recommends a marine epoxy. You know, it would be already thin for you, kind of. Yeah, and Mark, in big capital letters, unless you know you get the manufacturers, you know that hey, it's okay to thin this product, because thinning it could cause some catastrophic disaster in the bonding or the hardening of that epoxy and stuff. So you do want to check with the manufacturer of the product to make sure that it is okay to thin it, and that would be the best person to ask what to thin it with, and everything. So thanks, Mark, for that, throwing that in there. Let's see here. Oh, hey, Brooke said that Vectric Forum has a great PDF of glaze and shellac tutorials on a wolf's head. That might be something to look into on the Vectric Forum. I think he said the Vectric Forum. That would be something to look into, tutorial like that for an answer. That'd be great. Thanks, Brooks, on that one. All right, Harvey comes back, says, is this the product touch-up aerosol toner perfect brown 12-ounce brand touch-up solutions? Yes, it is. Let's see here. Touch-up solutions, toner dye, perfect brown. And it would probably, I don't know if they, NS0340-3016-6006 is the code number for that product. But I believe you are correct. I believe you are correct, Harvey. Let's see here. Mark Lindsay had a good poly shades, Minwax poly shades as a toner. If he's using polyurethane as a top coat, then he'll use the poly shades as a toner, and wipe off the excess, and then he clear coats it again. That's a good tip too. So thanks, Mark, for that. Appreciate it. Good. Bruce DeGarmo says Furniture Glaze from Amazon with Mixol colorant would work too. Hey, there you go. All right, let's see what we have. Vectric question: got any tips for tricking the tool database into letting you enter an Acme thread mill? Okay, so on your wait a minute, Mark, you're about to stump me here. An Acme thread mill? You're talking about like an Acme screw? Hold on, I gotta look up what an Acme thread mill is. I was thinking of a threading bit. Give me just a second here. Give me just a second. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the images came up as a thread cutter. All right, Mark. In the new threading toolpath, you can use a single-bladed threading mill or a multi-bladed threading mill, which would be considered the Acme thread mill, if I'm not mistaken. What are you? Let me see. What are you wanting to trick? Tricking the tool database into letting me enter an Acme thread mill. You shouldn't have to trick the tool database. bear with me a second, Mark. When we go into the tool database, you should be able to, a multi-thread mill, you should be able to add that in. Am I misunderstanding something? Because when I look up Acme Thread Mill, I just see the multi-threaded mill and the single-threaded mill. There's two options and stuff. So you should be able to add that into your tool database. Mark? He jetted. He left. He had to go get dinner. I'll be damn, I'm late on answering that question. But you shouldn't have to thread, if you watch this later, you shouldn't have to trick the tool database, because you can add in a multi-thread mill or a single thread mill. Either one of the two. So, he went to dinner. Okay, let's see here. But Michael comes back and says he's been told it's not possible. So y'all must be an Acme thread mill. Now I looked up an Acme thread mill, and it's just it's a milling bit, a thread milling bit. Am I seeing something? Acme thread. Guys, am I seeing something that's not there? Let me know in the chat section. Let me know in the chat section if it's some kind of special bit that I'm not seeing. But when I type in Acme thread mill, it's a single thread or a multi-thread mill. Let me know, and we'll circle back to it. Oh my God, it sounded like what's her name? Let's see here. On the tab and slot connector, how much larger is the slot for the proper fit? David Faze. On the tab and slot connector, I want you to see my face when I ask this question, because I have no idea what that is. On the tab and slot connector, how much larger is the slot for the proper fit? David, you need to, you're a DWC 2440 owner, you need to get with me one-on-one, so that way we can jump on TeamViewer, because I have no idea what that is. I don't know what a tab and slot connector is. That's not a part of Vectric, unless it's under some, you're just calling it that, but it's under a different name. I've never heard of it. So you need to get with me one-on-one. Now Brooks Martin is jumping in. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me see here. Darwin Bradley asks, is my CNC a vacuum table or is it just holes? No, there's not a vacuum table. I do have vacuum pods, and I have a vacuum pump that I use from time to time. But the holes that you see in my wasteboard, that's for these little cam clamps. And they go in, they spin and lock the part to cam lock it into place. But that's the versatile wasteboard. There's a video for it on SpindleTV's YouTube channel. All right, let's go down the list. I want to get up to Brooks. Let's see here. Heat gun and torch. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think somebody just stole your Harley. If you're talking about the motorcycle in the background, no, they race up and down the roads like crazy. Large machine from Digital Wood Carver. Will they burn? The laser machines from Digital Wood Carver. Will they burn a logo on a piece of mild steel? You would need to use either a Theramark or Sierra Mark, Ceramark, or I think it's Theramark is another one, 2 brands. Laser etching dye. But as far as mild steel, I'm not sure about. I know on aluminum they will, non-ferrous metals they will, mirrors, glasses, and all that, ceramics. Mild steel I've never tried, I'm not sure, but I believe you would have to use a Ceramark laser etching dye in order to achieve that. It should, at 60 or 90 watts, it should etch as long as you use the dye, but it may not be powerful enough. I'd have to ask that question and get back to you on that one. The laser machines from Digital Wood Carver, will they burn a logo on a piece of mild steel? Camaro, yeah, I'd have to get back to you on that one, but I know they will on non-ferrous metals, glass, ceramics, but mild steels, if you use a etching dye, possibly, but I'd have to test that that theory, and I'd have to ask the factory guys if it does. Okay, I need to use a .020 open syringe, and this half-year-old epoxy is a little thick for the plunger in the epoxy. Okay. Brooks, you just have mortise and tenon question mark. Help me out with that. Is that a question, or are you talking to someone else in the chat, or is that a question for me? And if so, what is the question about a mortise and tenon? You're buying a Shop Smart 2 from Laguna Tools, 4x8. Nice. Very nice. Very, very nice. Guys, I've been hit and miss with these questions. There's only been a few Vectric questions, but I've been hit and miss with all. Evidently, I'm not as much of a woodworker as I thought. I'm a carver, evidently. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I don't finish it. Everything I do is lacquer finish. Like for instance, the chest of drawers build, it's going to be painted and primed and painted for the cabinets, and then the cherry's getting a lacquer finish. I don't know. I might do a wipe-on poly, but I think it's going to get a lacquer finish. I'll use a cab acrylic lacquer and spray it on. But yeah. Oh, hey, real quick while we're waiting for the next question, let me tell you what I'm doing, which I think kind of, for me, it's kind of cool. Really quick, has nothing to do with Vectric or anything like that. So, the other day, every morning, I get woke up by the sound of a basketball dribbling on the driveway at the house next to me. And it's this young preteen, I think he might be in his low teen, 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there, playing basketball faithfully every morning, every afternoon, every evening, whenever he gets a chance and stuff. And I happened to, the other day I was out in the yard and I looked over and the kid is shooting on a basketball goal that's probably about 6 foot tall, if that, and someone had broke the backboard off of it. So it's just a pole with a goal. And this kid's shooting this basketball goal. And I thought to myself, well, no, that's not going to work. So I went over and asked I went over to the neighbors and spoke with the mother. And I asked her, I said, if that, first of all, because I don't know the neighbors that well. I'm kind of stick to myself on my property and all. But I went over, I said, is that your son that plays basketball all the time? And she said yes. And I said, if you don't mind me asking, do y'all plan on, or does any of the family members or anything plan on buying him a basketball goal for Christmas? And the mother said, well, we wanted to, but it was too expensive. And we thought about, you know, putting up some plywood or something, you know, to kind of put the backboard and all on there. I said, well, so none of the family are planning on buying him a basketball goal? And she said, no, we just can't afford it. And I said, I would love to buy him a basketball goal. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah. I said, he's dedicated. He's out there. There's no backboard on this thing, and he's still shooting. He don't care whatsoever, you know, and everything. But he deserves a basketball. He's dedicated. You know, if somebody's dedicated to something, you need to nourish that so they grow into it, you know. And she thought that, she said, oh, that'd be great. So I went out and I bought the basketball goal. So I bought a brand new regulation badass basketball goal, acrylic background, and a brand new basketball pump, all the little, anything that you know could want. And almost bought him a bicycle too, but I didn't. I don't know why. I was going to buy him a bike too. So I got a bike. But anyway, and I got it to the house here, and I went over to the neighbor. I said, hey, I've got the basketball goal. Do you want to give it to him this weekend, or do you want to wait till Christmas? And I was hoping she'd say, give it to him this weekend, because I really wanted to give it to him so he had something to play with. Because even this morning, I woke up to bam, 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 basketball, you know, on the driveway and stuff, and all. And he's playing every day with this janked up basketball goal. And so we're waiting for Christmas. So Christmas morning, because I'm not doing any Christmas with the family, and my mother and I, usually we exchange presents, but we're not this year. I gave her $600. I said, buy something and give it to someone. I spent $600 on this basketball goal and all that stuff. So we're giving this year to people, and this was my gift and all. But now I can't wait till Christmas, because I want to see this kid play this basketball goal. So I got this basketball goal that I really want to, and I love playing basketball. I played basketball in high school, and so as soon as we put it up, I'm going to help them put it together, let them get all excited and play it, and then I'm going to stomp his butt in a game of 1v1, and then I'm going to go home. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing for Christmas. That's going to be my Christmas morning. And it was going to be this weekend, but the mom wanted to wait because they don't really have any other presents to open for Christmas. So this is going to really be kind of the one thing that the kid's going to be able to open and get excited about, right? So I was excited to be able to do that. So, yeah, that was what I was doing. That's, you know, that was pretty cool. But when someone said about my Harley that you can, the noise, like you can hear the vehicles up and down the road and all, man, that kid playing basketball, dribbling, you can hear that like crazy on that driveway next door. But sound like a jackhammer. He's just rocking it, man. But carve him a nice plaque to go with it. I probably will. I'll probably ask his mom what he's into. You know, like if he's into certain things like cars or trucks or whatever, and I might carve him something too. Be cool, man. Okay, let's get back to the questions. We got some questions pop up and all that stuff. Let's see here. On your build, Laney, why not birch plywood? On my cabinet build? On my chest of drawers build? Why didn't I go with birch plywood? Because I didn't want to... Why didn't I go with birch plywood? I wanted a solid wood piece of furniture. I didn't want a plywood piece because I'm going to be putting cherry tops, cherry trim, and a cherry desk on it. And I didn't want plywood for the carcasses and all. I wanted hardwood. It's softwood. It's pine. But I wanted a solid wood product for the cabinets and chest of drawers. I didn't want to have to do any silly stuff of edge banding and all that crap. And I carved those profiles in the side. If you remember, if you watched the video, I carved those raised panel profiles in the side, and plywood would not have looked good doing that. So I went with hardwood or softwood, but I went with solid wood. because of those raised panels and everything. Now, if this was a kitchen cabinet or something like that, yeah, I'd probably go with a plywood carcass or what have you. But because of those raised panels and stuff, you know, wanted it somewhat lightweight. I didn't want to go with MDF or anything like that, you know, so I went with solid wood. That's why. All right, let's see here. Yeah, right, Eddie. So Eddie agrees with me. The mom, we should have gave it to him immediately. I wanted to, because I picked it up Friday night. Just this Friday, right? I picked it up. And Saturday morning, man, it was like a kid at Christmas. I was itching to go give it to him. I was waiting for it to... I got up before he got up playing basketball, because normally I get woke up by him. I mean, he's out there early afternoon, evening, all that stuff. But I was up before him, and I was waiting. His mom said she would much rather wait, because, you know, it's going to be the main thing that he's getting for Christmas, right? So, so why wait? But he's still playing. He has no clue. So she's done a good job of keeping it from him. All right, let's see here. Ronald says, I'd like to make an anniversary sign, but I would V-carve the last name and have the first name rise above it on the last name. So how would I do that? So that is a text on text, and I can show that. That is something that we can do. So we'll do it in VCarve Pro here. Let's go into our job size, and I'm going to just go with a simple 16 by 7 1/4 by 3/4 board, right? Make it whatever size you want. And all right, cool. I'm going to draw a rectangle through here, and I'm going to offset it inward. Let's go 3/4 of an inch. Sharp corners, delete the original. All right, and those 3 steps, that was just for me. That's my way, one way of creating a border, right? A border. And let's throw some text in here. So let's go with, we'll use Baron as the last name, and let's throw that in here, and let's stretch that out a bit. Okay, and let's get that centered on the board. All right, and let's take our text box again, and this time I'll use let's see what Mountain Bridge looks like, and let's go 1 inch tall, and we'll go Mary and John. All right, let's go 1.5. Let's throw that on there. Okie dokie. Now, in my project here, first thing, my original layer is my original, right? Layer 1. So I'm going to call this original. All right, I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to call this my top text. I'm going to create another layer and call this my bottom text. I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to call this my welded text. Okay, cool. All right. In my original text, I'm going to take my top text here and a border. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select the border, and I'm going to copy that to the top text layer. For the bottom text, I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy that to the bottom text layer. And for my border, one border, I'm going to copy that to the welded text layer. Wonderful. All right, let's go ahead and now turn off the original. We don't want the original visible anymore, and I don't want any of these others visible. All I want is right now my top text being visible. Okay, so you with me up to that point? All right, so we created 4 layers. We created the original design, and now we just kind of made copies of the top text and a border on the top text layer. just the bottom text, that bigger text at the back, that's the bottom text. Welded text currently just has a border on it, the border. All right, so in our top text, first thing I need to do with my top text is it's got overlaps and all. So I'm gonna weld that text together and replace it, right, with that pretty welded text. Isn't that beautiful? All right, and I'm gonna take that text and I'm gonna group it together. And I'm going to right click and I'm gonna copy that down to the welded text layer. Done with that, okay? On the same top text layer, I'm gonna take, and for me, I need to know what V-bit I'm using, right? You need to know what V-bit you're using, and you need to know how tall you want the top text and how tall you want the bottom text. In my case, I'm gonna go 1/8 of an inch for the top, 1/8 of an inch for the bottom, for a total of a 1/4 inch cut depth. Now, based on a 60-degree 1/4 inch V-bit and an 1/8 inch cut depth, the offset from the point to the intersection when that bit is 1/8 of an inch down is 0.0722. Okay, that's our magic number. So I'm going to take this border in the top text layer and I'm going to offset it inward 0.0722. And I'm going to delete the original and offset that inward. That's it. Top text layer is now 100% done with everything that we need to do with it. So now we can turn that off. Bottom text layer is nothing. We're gonna end up copying this over to the welded text layer in just a minute. But for right now, bottom text layer is just holding the bottom text. So we're gonna skip past that and we're gonna jump right over to the welded text layer. On the welded text layer, our text, because we are offsetting that 0.0722, our border that we went in on the top text, we need our text on the welded text layer to be offset outward by that much. So inward on the boundary on the top text layer, outward on the text in the welded text layer. So we're going to offset I'm on the welded text layer. Let's make sure we get up, make sure your layers are active that you're working in. And I'm going to offset the text, Mary and John, outward 0.0722. I don't want sharp corners. I want to delete the original and I'm going to hit offset. Okay? It might look funky like it does here, like, oh, I lost a bunch of vectors and all, but that's okay. It's supposed to. It's not supposed to look like the text because the text we're actually carving is on the top text layer, right? So I need to group that together, and now I am finished with the welded text except for one thing. I need to go to my bottom text layer and I'm going to convert it to curves, group it together, and I'm going to copy it to the welded text layer. Cool beans. So now I should have what looks like my full design on my welded text layer, but it's actually my offset top text, my regular back text. The bottom text is regular. You don't do anything with it. And then my regular border. Okay? So Mary and John is one group. Baron is another group. Those get welded together. That's why it's called the weld text layer. Those get welded together. Now, notice that my bottom text layer is still turned on and I was active. So I'm going to undo that. Let's come in here and undo. And make sure that when you do that weld that you're in that layer. I wasn't. So it threw everything in that bottom text layer. That was a no-no. Let's turn that off. Alright, let's do that again. Weld that together. There we go. That's what that should look like. Now our design is 100% done and it's ready for tool pass. Okay? So, V-Carve toolpath. We're going to turn on the top text and the welded text. That's the only two layers we want turned on right now. Alright, start depth is 0. Flat depth is 1/8 of an inch. 60-degree V-bit, and I will use a 1/4 inch end mill. I don't need the 1/8 inch in here, so I'll remove that. And I'm going to do a raster cut for me. I like a raster cut, cutting with the grain. And down here at the very bottom, before I hit calculate, the selector is set to manual, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to associate all of my open and closed vectors. I'm going to associate them with the toolpath, and I want every vector that's on the top text layer selected. So if I move this to the side, you can see it selected that automatically. And if I click close, you'll see it now says vector selection is automatic. I've associated that top text layer with this tool path. All right, so we'll call this top text and we'll calculate it. Okay, wonderful. So if we preview that visible tool path, here, let's speed this up just a little bit. All right, let's do that again. Preview the visible toolpath. Shoo! We're zooming like lightning now. All right, so that's my 1/8 inch top text. Now we're going to come back in and we're going to create a V-carve toolpath. This time we're starting at 1/8 of an inch, cutting down another 1/8 of an inch with the same bits, and we're going to go into our vector selector, and this time we're going to associate the toolpath with everything on the welded text layer. And we're going to close that, and we're going to calculate that toolpath. And if we preview those two toolpaths, my bottom text will come in, carve that, and it's rinse and repeat. So if you watch this video over and over again until you get it, it's rinse and repeat. Let's turn that color off. And it's the same steps every single time you want to do a text on text. Okay? That's it. Alright, that's all we do. Cool beans. Okay, so that was quick and dirty, wasn't it? Alright. So, 4 layers. Your original layer 1, change it to original and do your whole design on there, lay it out. Then you have a top text layer, a bottom text layer, and a welded text layer. You take your top text and your border and you copy that to the top text layer. You take your bottom text and copy that to the bottom text layer, and you take your border only and copy that to the welded text layer. Turn off your original at that point because you're done with it. Go into the top text layer and take the border and offset it inward based on the angle of your V-bit, how tall you want your letters. You can even draw that. Let me show you how you can find your magic numbers. Alright, let's go back over here and let's zoom in to right here. I'm going to draw for myself a 60-degree V-bit. Okay, and then let's zoom into that. Oh, not that far. Come on up here. And then I'm going to draw a line representing my board, right? So this is my bit sitting at the top of the board. Well, if I move that line up by the height that I want my letters, in this case for me, it's going to be 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to move it up 1/8 of an inch in the Y direction. I now have an offset between where the point of the bit is and where the bit, the edge of the bit is going to be cutting into the wood. So if I measure that from the point, let's go horizontally. If I measure from the point to the intersection, my magic number is 0.0722, right? So you would do, if it's a 90-degree V-bit, 120, 60, 22, whatever your V-bit is, that's one way you could lay it out and find out what your offset distance is, and that's your magic number. Okay? So you're going to take that offset, in my case 0.0722, and the border on the top text layer gets offset inward by that much. Delete the original one. Okay. Then bottom, the top text, if anything has to be done to it, if you got to weld it together because it's a script or whatever that stuff, do that. Group it together and send it down or copy it down to the welded text layer. Once you've done those two things, you're done with the top text layer. Turn that light bulb off and go to the welded text. On the welded text, that text that you just copied down there, offset it outward by that offset number. No sharp corners. You want round corners and all. No sharp corners. Offset it outward. Group it back together. And then go get your bottom text and copy your bottom text to that layer and then weld those two groups together. Okay. If your bottom text is still a font, convert it to curves and then group it together. You want two separate groups. Your top text and your bottom text as groups so they weld together. Once that's done, you're ready to create your toolpath. Okay. V-carve toolpath, 0 start depth, 1/8 inch flat depth in my case. 60-degree V-bit, 1/4-inch end mill, and I associate that toolpath with the top text layer. So it's an automatic selection, calculate. Bottom text, same parameters, but it starts at 1/8 of an inch. It's going to cut another 1/8 of an inch, same bits, but now I'm going to associate the welded text layer with that toolpath and calculate that. Done. Rinse and repeat every single time you want to do a text on text. Okay? Cool. All right. Let's see here. We're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes. Let's see. Ronald Schmidt, I hope that answered your question. You can review this video. Will be live or it'll be recorded. It is recorded, but it'll be on the website as soon as the class is over. You can go back and watch that section again. I know it was a little fast, but I have an actual video on the 3 ways to do text on text. This method, option number 2 for me in my original video where I have 3 options. Option number 2 is the option I just showed you, and this is my favorite method. Okay? Cool. All right, let's see here. Carl says, any suggestions on a good VS router? I burn up 2 DW618 routers. DeWalt, I'm assuming DW is DeWalt. 618 routers on my CNC. Was using a Porter cable 690. Wanted the VS feature. Variable speed, right? So a good soft start variable speed router is going to be the Bosch 1617 EVS. I kind of like that one. Our router is the Matibo, Hitachi / Matibo M12 VC. That's a soft start variable speed router. And both of those are 2.25 horsepower routers. Soft start, variable speed. The Bosch 1617 EVS or the Matibo, now it's Matibo, it was Hitachi, M12 VC. I would recommend those over the Porter cable and DeWalt any day of the week. Especially the Bosch. Okay. Let's see here. Darwin says, if I mounted a board with Formica on it, could I cut something out without damaging the CNC machine? Can you cut through Formica? Yeah, that's just like a, I mean, it's very similar to, where are all my projects? Oh, I cleaned out the shop for the video, so I don't have any of my projects. That's very similar to a melamine coated MDF board or something, you know, melamine, Formica. Formica's a little bit thicker. You can cut through Formica, for sure. You can V-carve it and all that stuff. You can cut Corian countertop if you want to, Darwin, but Formica would be no problem. Okay, how do I add a bit to the tool database? So there's 2 methods for adding a bit to a tool database, okay? You're either adding a regular tool, which would be something like a end mill, ball nose, tapered ball nose, V-bit, diamond drag bit, threading bit that we were talking about earlier, or you're adding a bit with a special profile. So a bit with a special profile, such as this barley twist bit, this 1-inch barley twist bit. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? You can see that. But that is a foreign bit. It has a special profile. So in the tool database, oops. If we come over here to our tool database, if we're adding a regular tool like an end mill or something, you can choose the category that you're going to add the bit under, or you can create a new one if you want, down here, add a group. But you're going to click on the Add Tool to Tool Database, and you're going to choose from the drop-down list. And if it's an end mill, you're going to put in the diameter of the end mill. You're going to put in how many flutes it has on it. And you're going to, it's going to kind of pull recommended settings kind of from what's relative already in your tool database. but those settings may not be appropriate. In this case, they're 100% exact. 1/8 inch pass depth, half the diameter of the tool. For your pass depth, 40% step over, 18,000 RPMs. I usually run between 18 and 22,500 RPMs, but 18 is good. 55 inches a minute, 15. Unless you have a big, more commercial unit, then you want the appropriate chip load and speed and feed and everything for your machine. And you would click apply, and you would add that tool, right? So very simple. You just if you're adding a basic tool, there's nothing really tricky about it. You choose the type of tool it is and put in the parameters. But if you're adding a form tool, something with a special profile to it, then you have to draw the right half of that profile to scale. So in this example, let's come in here, and I'll start off with a rectangle. And my width of my rectangle is going to be 1 and... Hold on a second. Let me grab my tape measure. 1.5. So basically it's going to be my bit diameter, right? The width of that. The height is going to be my, generally kind of my cutting height. I'll adjust and change that as it goes, but in this case it is going to be 3/4 of an inch. So in this case I'll go 0.75 for right now, and I'm going to create that rectangle. Okay, and let's move it up here. Okay, here, let's delete this. We don't need this anymore. Delete. Alright, so on this, I'm going to draw out the right half of the profile. So we're going to go into node editing mode. Let me find my bit again. Node editing mode. And we're going to take and insert a point right here for the time being, and I'm going to delete this point. I'm going to insert a point right here, and let me pull this back out. Alright, so I want to align to this, and I want to align this node. I'm going to hit the letter X to pull that straight. And this is going to be an arc. And you can get the parameters of your tool, the radiuses of each of the arcs and everything, from the tool manufacturer, from the website, and everything. So, you know, definitely do that. And then we have another... Right, where is it at? Where does it start here? Insert a point. Easy. All right. And then I'm going to go into node editing. And I'm going to cut the vector here, and I'm going to cut it up here in the corner, and I'm going to delete this top half. So say this was my profile. Now, one of the things that's most important is the size of this should be half of your bit, right? Because it's the right half of the bit. The height should be the height of your bit. Make sure you take the parameters. They have the measurements, and they have the radiuses and all that stuff drawn out. You can even, hell, sometimes you can even pull in the PDF that they might have and, you know, trace from it or whatever. But you just draw out the shape of, you know, of what it is, and then you make sure you have that shape selected when you open your tool database. And when you open your tool database, you pick a category that it's going to go under, you add a new tool, and from the drop down you're going to choose Form Tool. And on the Form Tool, it's going to draw out the rest of the bit. It's going to automatically put in the diameter, and it's going to, you can't change it, it's grayed out. You're going to put in the number of flutes, and then you're going to put in your settings. In this case, I go 33.3% on a form bit. This is a little bit larger bit, so I'm actually going to spin it around 16,000 RPMs, and I'll be at 65 and 15. Give it a name, you know, whatever you want to call it. Sample bit. Turn off the default and click OK. And that's how you would add that bit, you know, click apply to add it into your tool database. But you have to draw the right half of the profile to scale. If it's a OG bit, round over, box core, you know, anything that has a special profile that's not an end mill, V-bit, ball nose, tapered ball nose, diamond drag bit, laser engraver, or thread milling bit. If it's none of those, then you need to draw out the right half of the profile and add it as a form tool. Okay? As a form tool, you got to add it in. You got to draw the right half of that profile to scale. And you can go to Amana, you can go to Whiteside, you can go to whoever, you know, ABC, and you know, they usually have a drawing of their bit showing it's got this radius and this cutting height and all that stuff, and you can use that to help you draw your shape. Okay. All right, let's see here. All right, if I had a board 12 inches by 12 inches by an 8 inches a square 10 inches by 10 inches, cut one using a 90-degree V-bit. I cut to a depth of 1.126. On the vector, does not cut through. Wait, hold on. Let me read that a little slower. I have a board that's 12 inches by 12 inches by an 1/8 inches by so an 1/8 inch thick board. A square, 10 inch by 10 inch, cut using a 90-degree V-bit. I cut to a depth of 0.126. That one I'm not sure why you do, but okay, we'll figure that one out in a second. On the vector, does not cut through to go to 0.13. Do I need to go to 0.13? All right, so I'm assuming that you're trying to make a beveled edge. It could be a mitered edge for a box or something like that, or whatever you're doing, but you're trying to make a beveled edge, a 45-degree beveled edge on this 1/8 inch thick board. And this will be, we'll wrap it up after this. And let's delete that. And let's go into here. Let's delete this. And let's come into our job setup. All right, 12 by 12 by 0.125. Click OK. Delete all these toolpaths. All right, so now we're going to create a rectangle at 6 by 6 is going to be my center point of the rectangle, and the rectangle is going to be width -2 equals height -2 equals, okay, 10 by 10, duh, he just said that. Okay, all right, close. Okay, so I'm gonna do I want a chamfer cut on this, right? Well, let's look at this from a side view. So let's come in here and let's draw an 1/8 inch high square, 0.125. Okay. Awesome. And let's draw a line from this edge 45 degrees. That's 30, 45, space bar. Okay. All right. And Let me get zoomed in. Oh, hell, none of you are seeing any of this stuff. Okay, there we go. Sorry, you're sitting there looking at me. All right, so basically we have a 12 by 12 board with a rectangle, and then we have a side view here, a profile view here. So I'm going to take and draw out the V-bit. Now the V-bit has plenty of cutting height that it can do this in one pass. Okay, so it can do this cut in one pass. But let's go to a profile toolpath. We're gonna cut down 0.125 with a 90-degree V-bit on the line. Calculate. Preview the visible toolpath. Okay, so his question is it's not cutting all the way through, right? And so you put it at, you know, 0.126 and it still didn't cut through, then that's an issue, because if I put it at 1.126, my board is 0.125. If I go 0.126, that should cut all the way through. And let's go look at our points here. Let me set up a two-sided job so I can see the back side. Set this up as a double-sided job. Click OK. That's good. And then I want to turn on the two-sided view. Why is it so dark? Is it dark on the screen there, guys? Let me change the wood. Why is it so dark? Where'd my board go? There's my board. My board disappeared on me. Come right back here. Stand by. Okay, so 0.126 is actually cutting 0.1246 inches deep in the Z here. So 0.126, most likely because the angle is only cutting 0.1246 in the Z depth. That number is at the bottom of the screen, on the bottom right. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. So on that tool path, 0.126, 0.1246, hold on a minute, 0.125 minus 0.1246 equals 4 thousandths of an inch. So if I go 0.126, delete 1264, that should take me through. Yeah. So you don't need to go to 0.13. You just need to add a couple of thousandths of an inch, maybe another 4 thousandths of an inch and everything. Because I'm assuming it's going to be because of the angle or what have you. But when cutting, when you have it set to 0.126, it's only cutting 0.1246 in the software. So to get it to 125, the thickness of your material, you need to add that extra 4/10,000ths of an inch. So 1264. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. You know. It might have something to do with the angle or the tip or what have you, but you would think 125 is 125, right? But in this case, it actually was cutting 0.1246. So we just had to get it that little bit further. All right. Okay, let's see here, guys and gals. We just had to get it that little bit further there, Harvey. So that extra 1.1264 is what you would need. All right, let's see here. Jeff Diebold says screen. I know y'all were looking at me instead of at the other screen. All right, guys and girls. Well, we've gone an hour and a half. I needed the, I said it was going to be about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half at the most. So let's see here. You guys are talking about just your DeWalt bits and all that stuff. Hopefully some of this stuff I didn't nail any of the first ones, so I didn't nail epoxy. I didn't nail glazing, right? So I didn't get that one. Epoxy, glazing. David Faze, you and I have got to work together on yours to figure out your scallop thing, because I don't know why that's doing that unless it's a tramming thing. But I think I did all right on the text on text and then solving this one, right? So not bad. That was only a third of the 1 hour session. But hopefully this was useful to you. And if we don't see each other, because I'm going to be driving to Indiana, and then I'm coming back from Indiana through, I got to go to Alabama and then back to Florida. I don't know if there's going to be a class next week or not, next Tuesday. So we may not have a live class event. I will be releasing the video next week of the chest of drawers final build, the final paint and finish and all that stuff. But we may not have a live class again before Christmas that I'm aware of. We might have one. But if not, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and all the special holidays that y'all share out there and stuff. And Kwanzaa, everything. And just have good times with family, friends, and, giving and receiving and all that stuff. And we will catch you next week. I'll keep you guys updated online when the next class is going to be. We'll see if we can fit one in before Christmas. I doubt it, but if not, we'll be back the first week after Christmas, the first Tuesday after Christmas, and yeah, we'll go there. All right, Christmas party. Yeah, I'm going up to Indiana for a company Christmas party, so that's why I'm taking. And then I'm driving to Alabama to deliver a CNC machine that was purchased, and since it's not really on my way back, but since I'm heading back this way, we're delivering it in Alabama. But I'm delivering in Alabama on the way back to Florida. So y'all have a good time. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you all. And until next time, we'll catch you soon. Thanks, everybody. See ya.